Oh no. Can't start falling apart before we even start.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. What you got there?
Busting out some of that element.
Bam!
Oh, that didn't mess up all the audio.
No, it didn't, did it? Well, bam.
There you go.
Dude, I tried a little bit of element on some watermelon. Andrew brought that giant bowl of watermelon, and I didn't have watermelon element. I had the grapefruit element, but I put some of that on some watermelon, and it was amazing.
Oh, wow.
It was really good.
Wait, so you did that while we were there or after we left?
After.
Okay, because I was going to say, if you did that while we were there and then you didn't offer us
I didn't
any.
tell you. That's fucked up.
That'd be not, yeah, that'd be
No. Don't worry about it. I did it later on. It was kind of an accident. Like I put the watermelon down, and then the element was there, and I was like, "Oh, these two need to like meet each other."
Yeah.
It was delicious.
You guys have talked about that so much, but I still haven't done element on fruit.
I haven't
need
done
to
it
do
on watermelon. I would like to though.
Yeah, watermelon's great.
But I left all my watermelon at your place, so.
Yeah, you brought over a lot.
Yeah, what was crazy is like we actually almost didn't bring that big old bucket of watermelon. It was like, it's a long drive. What if it gets gross? And it's like, it's kind of a big thing. And Stephanie's like, just take it. Because I was not going to lie, like, it's a big ass thing of watermelon. I feel kind of embarrassed to bring this big old bucket. I don't know. I felt weird. And then everyone loved it. So I'm like, okay, this is dope. But yeah, maybe if I sprinkled some element on it, it would have made it even better.
It was delicious.
It was.
Yeah.
I wish I had.
We know a lot of people that participate in keto diets, and a lot of people that are lowering their calories, and they seem to feel like crap when they're doing that. And a big difference can be just getting the right electrolytes in there. So check out some element. Tastes good, and it will help you get through your workouts better.
Absolutely. You guys need to hit up drinklmnt.com/powerproject. Right now, as of the recording of today, is the 6th of July. They are still offering the free element recharge pack. So you just pay $5 shipping and you get an 8 sample pack sent to your door. If you have tried that, or if you haven't, whatever, if you want to step up, we highly recommend the value bundle. That's getting 4 boxes, so 4 separate flavors, whichever you like, for the price of 3. Again, that's at drinklmnt.com/powerproject. No code needed. Head over there ASAP. What's up, y'all?
Did you guys see that bench press I sent you guys?
I didn't get to watch it, actually.
press
I
is
saw
pretty
the
bad.
Deontay Wilder, huh?
Yeah, man, that guy is a fucking beast.
Well, apparently his bench isn't.
But people are making people are making fun of
Shots
his
fired.
people are making fun of his bench really bad, but people are making fun of his legs. They're like, cover up those legs. They're like, I've seen more more mass on an ostrich or something.
Well, if we learned anything from I don't even want to say it. I want him on our podcast, but there are a lot of athletes that have really stick legs.
Yeah.
That are just like, okay, so like
Well,
John
bench-
Jones is a
yeah.
beast,
Oh yeah.
but his legs are like knives,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's just wild. Like you don't really need mass to be a killer.
He's got some thin ass calves. And he's a fucking beast.
Yeah. There's a term for that. Because when you do look a lot like NBA players, we call them BMCs or black man calves. Because there are like, if you've seen, there are a lot of athletes that are super athletic and they're just like, they have the most explosiveness, but their calves like are look non-existent on their leg, and it's like up
what
here
is
and it's a
that?
little blip.
Mm-hmm.
It's a genetic thing, man. Like there's a lot of people who just have that, like
A lot of people have high calf insertion.
high calf insertion.
The reverse of that does not look very good. The low calf insertion, would AKA a cankle.
Oh God.
I thought you were going to say where it looks like a nutsack, where it's
Oh,
like
well,
two.
Let me ask you, is it that just low calf insertions, or is it just that they have so much fat on the leg that it covers the Achilles?
Well, there's both. There's both. Sometimes the calf is like way down low by the ankle, and sometimes they have an actual just cankle.
Yeah.
The really good look is when you see the knee is the same size as the calf, and the calf is the same size as the ankle. And
We just call that thick. Like,
yeah. It's like what happened there, man? There's no shape going on there.
Oh God, yeah. That's
Anyway, Wilder's got to work on that bench.
he does.
He's got to while out on the bench.
He does.
He just had the kind of crazy, like a kipping bench press.
Oh,
The
God.
hips were getting into it, and it just got to be wild. But the main issue is not necessarily the bench press, because we know that like who cares how he bench? It's not like a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
But there's two main issues I have. One is like he could hurt himself doing that, and that's not a great place to get hurt. You're gonna hurt yourself. Maybe do it in the ring when your championship belt's on the line or something like that.
He was so happy too.
But that's the biggest problem is the celebration afterwards. Yeah, that's the biggest problem. And people were because people are crazy online, so people were doing math. One dude was like, "Hey, that's the equivalent," because this guy said, "I weigh 185. I bench X amount of weight." He's like, "That's the equivalent of me benching 258 pounds." He's like, which is kind of cool, but he's like, it's a shitty bench. I think that was like 310 pounds. I was going to comment on it, but then I was like, this guy can knock me out like just by looking at me. So
Jesus.
I ain't saying shit.
Yeah. Hey man, like let the man celebrate his bench press. We all have different PRs, right? That was his, But the way he celebrated, like he got up, he was so hype. Oh God!
I wonder when is his fight? He's fighting Tyson Fury again, right?
Again?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I think it's the third.
Like him and Joshua just won't go at it.
I just saw it too.
That is a big dude, though. Look at his shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's those ostrich legs.
He said ostrich legs. There's like literally no.
Hey, the setup on the bench ain't bad. Somebody taught him something.
Yeah.
His like coach is like watching this, just cringing because he's probably not there or something.
Oh. And they really helped him with that.
All you, yeah. They pat him.
Bro.
They pat him. All you.
Yeah, mid
like,
pat.
Yeah, let's go.
And the other other major concern I have, he's on a bench press that has a fucking leg extension at the end of it.
Thank you. I just saw that. I'm like, no, that's like the bench press you get from like Sears catalog.
This guy was champion of the world, or maybe he still is. I don't even know.
Wait, yeah, that's his picture on the wall. That's his gym. Or it might be like, I don't know if that's his gym.
Yeah,
that's his
Could you imagine how fucking hard that guy can hit, though?
Oh, geez, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I've seen him.
There was
How wide those shoulders are?
Yeah. I don't know if it was him, but there's a video of someone walking.
He's got
to
the
ring
Tony
with him,
Huge gloves on and everything.
and then they just walked out of the ring. Like they
Oh
walked.
yeah.
Was that him or was that like
I think
another
it was somebody
Majin
else.
Buu looking?
Yeah, I posted it on the podcast Instagram account a while back, but yeah, he just straight up left.
Yeah, God. Yeah, I've seen his highlights for knocking people out there. You don't want to get hit by that.
Imagine me seeing him in person being like, "Hey, you're never mind, sir. Sorry, didn't realize you're 7 feet tall."
Yeah.
He would just like give me one of these on top of the head, drag me right into the ground like a cartoon.
Yeah, man. Just his. That's. You remember what I called that punch? We can't say it on air, but you know what I called that punch.
There's a lot of things we're not allowed to talk about on air.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about your inappropriate behavior this weekend?
What did I do?
On the beach. Getting naked on the beach.
Oh yeah,
fully naked.
Yeah. I had my boxers on.
He's like, "We're going streaking," and he just took off. I was like, "What the hell?"
By the way, technically, what was that called that we did? Was that paddleboarding or what?
I think so.
That's
No, that was bodyboard.
Is it?
No,
I tried googling it.
Boogie boarding.
It's boogie boarding.
Boogie
That's
boarding.
That's what I call it.
Yeah, boogie boarding.
Boogie boarding. Okay.
What'd you call it?
I thought it was paddle boarding because I was.
Oh no, I think yeah. No, paddle
is
boarding is different.
No, paddleboarding is when you stand up paddle. Where is it? Anyways,
Right? See?
Nah, I don't know. Well, maybe you stand up a little bit on paddle boarding, but that'd be surfing, right?
but then that would be a stand up paddleboard.
Mm-hmm.
Boogie boarding. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was exciting. Yeah, I felt I didn't I thought I'd fuck myself up, but I didn't.
It's kind of fun. Like the ocean is interesting. Like it'll fuck you up.
We can.
Yeah.
Like I was out there a couple times, like where the waves got they weren't big, but they were coming in like 2 waves at a time.
Yeah.
And I like kind of halfway rode one, and it just didn't work out very well. I like kind of just bubbled over top of it. Nothing happened. And then the second one just kicked my ass. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
But it'll just throw you whatever way it wants to throw you.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have much choice. I mean, it's not like you can like use your muscle and be like, I'm just going to hold back on this. It like makes it 10 times worse.
The more you tense up, the harder it is. But yeah, it was super cool, man. It's fun that you guys get to just do that. I got to go back out there and just like mess with that stuff because that just felt so good.
Look at
so
those
peaceful.
quads.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised at that.
The quads actually, it's kind of funny. It kind of makes you look short.
It does.
But you're not short.
I look like I'm 5'6" in this picture. It's disappointing. But yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, it was a good time. You know, I think something that I recognize, I can't help but recognize, when we get into these kind of holiday situations is, how the rest of the family like eats, and being somebody who's in nutrition, being someone who's in fitness, you never want to be that guy. You never want to be like, I don't want to like run up to people and knock sandwiches out of their hands or be anything crazy like that. I really just mainly, especially at this point in my life, just want to encourage people to make good choices and to work towards making better choices, making choices that are not what I feel, but what they feel are towards their best interest, and I don't know, this is the weird thing, is like, I don't even know what's best for me, much less anybody else. So that's an interesting thing when you get into a situation where you might be judging somebody, saying, oh man, like, I hope that guy doesn't grab for another beer. I hope he doesn't eat any more ice cream. Like, he doesn't need it. Maybe those are messages we should be, maybe saying to ourselves too. But anyway, it's hard to like, learn how to toe that line and learn how to communicate with family members on how they can make better choices. And on top of that, what makes it even more difficult is they might not even want to hear it. So you have to wait for an opportunity. As a parent, I've referred to situations like this in the past as opportunities for education. Educational opportunities are your kid breaks something in the house and they don't tell you about it. That's not, in my opinion, that's not a great time to get really pissed off and to yell and scream. It's an opportunity to educate. Now, you might still be mad. You might show the kid that it mattered to you on what they broke, that it meant something to you. Hey, you broke this family heirloom, like, and you didn't tell anybody. This is very disrespectful. But it's not a time to like lose your cool. So I just kind of think when I see people eating certain ways or making certain choices, I'm thinking to myself, okay, store that in the brain for later on. If they ask any questions, now I have a little bit of information and maybe I can share something with them that will be, more useful.
I think that's a big thing that you said right there. When they ask some questions, because I know I think after listening to this episode, there's gonna be a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'm gonna go change my family's life, right? And then you're just gonna go talk to everybody, like interject into everybody's thing, and what you might find is maybe that might work, but a lot of times, like, if you interject and they haven't asked for anything, they'll just be like, fuck you, I really don't care. Like, you can go take your diet soda somebody else. I like my full sugar Coke, right? So I think it's like, it is those situations where, like, maybe you do go to a family function, or you go over to somebody's house, a cousin's house, you bring something slightly different, or you choose not to drink the Coke in the fridge. You're like, I got my diet soda. And then they ask a question. You can be like, let me tell you something about sugar, So I think that might be the easiest and best way to go about it. Although, I mean, previewing an episode that we just had with our homie Gormy, sometimes you may need to figure out a good way to interject without them asking, especially if you see that they really need that help.
That's a great place to start. But I like what you said about like bringing stuff, and Andrew does a great job with that. He did it at our party. He brought some watermelon. I think that we're under this impression that the changes that we're going to make have to be so drastic that we can't really enjoy ourselves. Yeah. And if there's anything to show anybody, if there's anything to teach anybody, it would be that. Like, hey, you actually get to enjoy the fuck out of yourself. It's just in a different way. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there'll be times that will be kind of lame. There'll be some times that like aren't cool. There'll be some times where you have to trade out your favorite burrito for, eating a lean source of protein. And eating a burrito is fun. Mm-hmm. Eating a burrito that's full of cheese, like a super burrito, right? Mm-hmm. Fuck, man, with cheese on the outside and everything. Like, that's just, it's unbelievable. We talk all the time about Chinese food on the show. Like, just going to Chinese food and just ordering like whatever you want. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
But I think from a standpoint of being reasonable with your nutrition, I think we need to try to get to like a 70-30, 80-20. And that's like if you're already in pretty decent standing. So how do we help people maybe get towards that?
One thing I wanted to ask you guys, and maybe this is a little bit too complex, but it seems like if somebody does have the question, or they talk about like, oh, I need to lose weight or whatever, because they know you're into fitness, is it almost like an icebreaker? Because I would hear kind of the same thing over and over, like, oh, I think I need to lose weight. It's like you try to educate or whatever, but the next time you see them, it's like, I mean, I need to, like, well, what happened with the stuff I told you about, the last time we had this conversation? It's almost like, because it is on top of their mind so much, it's just like conversational at that point. It's no longer that they actually want to. It's sort of like, ooh, the weather today, like they see you coming, so they're like, oh shit, I got to talk about diet and nutrition and fitness and that sort of thing. So like, how would you navigate something like that?
My mom did that all the time, and I
Mhm.
think it was to like say like, hey, like I still care, I'm still interested,
Mm.
and also a defense mechanism towards like, I don't really want anybody asking me any questions about any of that, so I'm just gonna talk about how I'm gonna try this new thing, because that'll distract away from like what I'm actually currently doing, and that could be really tough. But I think the key is to present a lot of options to people, not confuse them with too much shit or overwhelm them. But for most folks that you talk to, there's usually something that they like to do. My buddy Russell, who I'm helping lose weight, he likes to swim. So I'm like, we're going to use a lot of swimming, because he was walking for maybe like a week or so, and his feet just, they couldn't handle it. At the current level that he's at, conditioning wise, he just, even a walk is tough for him. So he's like, I got to do the walks, and I'm not doing the walks. He's like, I'm falling apart, my feet hurt. I'm like, we're okay, no walks. Let's focus on, you like the pool, and he even goes swimming with his son, which he really enjoys. It's like, that sounds magnificent. Let's hone in and focus on that. So I think trying to present some people with some options is a great place to start.
Options is a great place to start, but again, another thing that like Gormy said from today's episode is like, think about if you do see that there's a problem and you do care, but the question is, how much do you care? Like, do you care enough where you maybe give this person this piece of information and you'd say, hey, if you ever want to text me about this, or if you have any questions, please just text me. Because at the end of the day, we all know that you can give somebody an endless amount of information and they'll know it, and they'll probably have questions later. But if they don't feel that they can reach out to you, they probably won't. They'll probably go about it on their own, and then they'll, just kind of fizzle out, because that motivation from that one conversation is in that one conversation, then it leaves later on. So sometimes you might need to let this individual know that the line of communication is open and I am here for you. But the thing is that is a responsibility on your part now. Not that like you must take care of them or whatever, but at the end of the day, like if they want to come back for something or ask you a question, you kind of should be open to answer that question or be there for them. Especially, I mean, we all have different relationships with our families, but if they are, if you care about them, you could see they really want help, you should try to let them know that you're there, because that's a big thing. Having someone that they can be accountable to, and then maybe another good idea, because some people, like you mentioned, sometimes they come back over and over and over again. They're asking you the same question at every single function, at every single party. It's the same conversation. Maybe check in on them every now and then. Because I'm guilty of this. When I've been asked a question, I haven't checked in with somebody, and it's again happens. So I will, people that in my family that are kind of, as far as their health is concerned, I'm going to send them a text. I'm going to check in on them and say, hey, how are you doing with that? How are you doing with the walking that we talked about? Have you been doing the fasting we've been talking about? How's that been going? And since I've been doing that, a lot of them have been able to stick with that. And it's not that I'm coaching them or anything. I'm just giving them a quick check-in on the stuff that we talked about. And it helps.
It's amazing to say, hey, how you doing? I'm just checking in. And you don't even say what you're checking in on. You just say, hey, what's up? It's you talked to someone weeks ago about how to kind of kick their sugar addiction. You gave them some advice, and they just like spill their guts to you. You get like a text. In my house, we call it a Linda text, because we have a friend named Linda. She'll text bomb, like she'll just send you like this epic text, and you don't even know how she does it so fast. You're like how the fuck is this? How is this possible? You get like bombed by it.
She had a rough draft ready to go.
Yeah.
So wait for someone to ask me how I am.
So you get this Linda text from somebody, and it turns out, they had a weekend or a week that was just it didn't go well for them. They had trouble with their car, they had trouble with a spouse, or they had 6-7 different problems, and it led them to not kind of staying on the plan. And so it's interesting just even kind of mentioning like, hey, how's it going? A lot of times they'll divulge the information, and then from there you can say, well, would you like further assistance? Because I've been there, I've had that happen to me. And like with your strategy, you're just like, people think I'm highly dedicated, but I just can't even really have the shit in the house. Like that's your answer. Like each person has their own anecdote. My wife is one of those crazy people that can like take a bite of something somehow. I don't get it.
Wow.
She'll be like, I just want a couple tastes of that, and then she'll put it back. I'm like, what? I don't get it. What are you doing? Are you? We need to get her like a CAT scan on her brain or something. We need to check
fully
this
developed human being right there up here.
Yeah,
I haven't reached that level of development yet. You can take a bite and say I can't do it. Like what?
I think ultimately we're trying to figure out how to keep people like dedicated to some sort of plan, right? But how to stay dedicated is hard. It's not really motivation. It's like a dedication. It's a dedication to like these habits. And I think maybe a good place to start would be with maybe swapping out an old habit with just something like just a tiny bit better. Like, can we get you to maybe the person does still struggle with their sugar issue. Maybe they still do drink a lot of soda. But maybe the next time you see them, they're like, yeah, I've actually been staying up on the walks. You're like, fuck yeah. All right, great, good. We got one thing out of the way. Let's see if we can start to check some other boxes.
I think one big tough thing too is like, yeah, it is good to have the information as far as like, okay, well, this is what this food does, and this is calories, and this is a caloric deficit. And yeah, that all is super beneficial. But with a lot of things, like with a lot of people, it could go a lot deeper than that. It could be that like that's where they find their comfort, right? And that in itself is difficult because it's like, okay, you currently find comfort from eating. Like that makes you feel happy and feel good. I mean, we can all actually attest to that feeling. Like when you eat something really good, like when you have like the right Ben and Jerry's ice cream or something like that, or when you have the right burrito, like the burrito you were just talking about, right?
I could sign up with that one.
Hola.
Yeah.
See,
Really good cookies.
It's turning racist. Just kidding.
Hey, I said burrito and Zaragoza. I was like, yeah, that's me. So you set yourself up for that. Anyway,
I like
I'm done. I'm done.
This podcast can't be racist, can it?
I don't know.
I'm not gonna go. There's a rabbit hole I was gonna go down, but I'm not gonna do
We're
it.
fairly represented, right?
We are.
Yeah.
We got chocolate, vanilla, salted caramel.
But maybe this is our way of saying like, nah, like I'm not. It seems like I got a white friend.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I got Nsima, I got Andrew. Like,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
way.
Ain't
You know
nothing
me? There's no way.
Anyway. But like we can all find comfort from food, but I think a big thing for us is that we have other things that we actually find true enjoyment from and like that give us fulfillment. Like there's a lot of things that you do with your family and that you do on the outside of just eating that give you fulfillment. I think for a lot of people, and I know there were people in my family like this, that they found true enjoyment out of that and they didn't have many other places where they got that from, So I think that's something to maybe see if you could have a conversation with somebody about. This might be where you are right now. So if you're listening to the show, this might be where you are. But we're also saying that if you find that that's where you used to be and that's not where you are anymore, you can maybe help your family figure out, hey, maybe you could try doing this, or maybe we could figure out something else, something to do together outside of that. Because we know that you do kind of need to change your circles sometimes, especially when it comes if you have a bad diet. Like sometimes the cause of that, or a big cause of that, is because of the people that you're always around.
Yeah, that one can be really tough. I think as bad as you might feel about your maybe lack or your current inability to switch over to a better meal plan that better serves you, no matter how shitty you think you are at it or how bad you are at it, hopefully that's as bad as it gets. Hopefully it doesn't continue to get worse. Ways of making it better seem fairly simple. trying not to consume as many calories, or cutting back calories from liquids is a great way to do it. Looking into maybe a little bit of like intermittent fasting, just pushing a meal back, or ending your night a little earlier with your food. Walking seems to be fairly simple for people to implement into their lives. Maybe some like extra focus or mindfulness towards like non-exercise movements that are exercise, like not really necessarily working out, but just moving more. Something as simple as and ridiculous as this could sound, you go to get something from the fridge and you want to sit down with a couple of things in front of the TV. Sit down with one thing in front of the TV. You're about to sit down and watch your favorite show, but you kind of have to pee. Sit down, watch your show for a couple minutes, and then use the, like, just little things. If anytime there's an opportunity to stand versus sit, try to stand. Anytime there's an opportunity to, rather than just stand, to move a little bit, work on trying to move. The parking further away from the grocery store, using the stairs, all these things, they really, truly, I know it always seems like bullshit, but they actually do add up over time. And the next thing is lifting. Your diet, this is why I say lift through it. Your entire life can be fucked up. Your entire life can be flipped completely upside down. There's people that I know right now that have gotten themselves in really good positions in their life. They have great jobs. They make a lot of money. They have a great family. They have everything going for them. And somewhere along the line, the wheels fell off. They're addicted to drugs. They're addicted to alcohol. They didn't stay connected to some of the stuff that they did when they were younger. And now they're just in a bad way, and they're trying to find their way back. Most of the time, what I've seen from those kind of people is they usually try to do it through some sort of physical activity. So imagine the whole time you have jujitsu or you have lifting. That's the one thing that my brother has done that has been huge for him, is he stayed connected to his lifting the entire time. He's had knee surgeries and hip surgeries, and had issues with alcohol, had issues with pills, went through depression, went through all these different scenarios, but the entire time, and went through a lot of issues with his food. He was really heavy at a certain point. He stayed connected to the lifting. That kept him in check. So as bad as you might feel like, man, I'm a fucking idiot when it comes to, I cannot get this straight. I do good for a couple days and then I F up again. I do good for a couple days and I just keep screwing it up. But imagine if you can start lifting now, today, and be anything consistent with it. Get a couple of lifts in every month or every week, and it accumulates over a period of time. If you can hold on to that, you'll be able to make the changes in the kitchen at some other time. It might take a while, but from what I've seen, from what I've noticed from a lot of people, how many people do we know that powerlifted for many, many years? They got huge, they got big, and I've heard all kinds of stories about guys running into issues with painkillers and different things like that too. In our sport, shit totally fell apart. They at least stayed connected to lifting. Now they got their nutrition intact, and now they look healthy. They look great. So lifting can be something that you can start simultaneously while you're trying to figure out that other shit with your nutrition.
I think someone great to look at, actually, as far as that's concerned, just like JP.
Absolutely.
I mean, JP, he extremely strong squatter, held a lot of squat records, but he's talked about how he felt when he was that big. And then the whole time as he's been transforming his body, he stayed connected. He did something as far as he could as far as lifting, just because like he had a spinal issue and that was giving him a lot of problems and a lot of pain. But he still found a way to stay connected to lifting. And now, I mean, I think he's set to do a meet in like 16 weeks. I think he's 16 weeks out or something like that. He's going to do another powerlifting meet, the first one in a very long time. So that's, I mean, if anything, yeah, that would be one great habit that, again, you could suggest to anyone in your family to pick up. A gym sometimes can be a little bit, daunting. And for some people, it might be a little bit, what's the word? Intimidating, right? But I mean, if we've learned anything from COVID, if you can gift them a pair of dumbbells or give something that you could even do at home to start, that could then be the first step for them to get into a gym. Because how many people do you know that their first look at exercise was a pair of dumbbells, and that led them to be more curious, and then that led them to a gym? Even though gifting someone dumbbells can seem a little bit fucked up, like, hey, have these, right? It can. Hey, sometimes it could be something that works.
And maybe you show them how to do some stuff. Maybe show them a couple lifts, show them how to, I mean, if you're the fitnessy person in your family, you know, leading by example is a great thing to do. Bringing certain foods to parties is a great example. Encouraging people to exercise. You know, whenever I go on any vacations, you know, I'm about to go out to New Jersey at the end of this month and meet up with a lot of family members. We're going to work out every day, every morning. And the workouts, like, sometimes they're not great. Like, sometimes we do like a couple sets of push-ups, a couple sets of squats, and then maybe we'll like walk. But it's like we did something. We got something in there at some point. Sometimes it might be more rigorous. Sometimes we might actually like run or do something a little bit more, maybe even go to a gym, do something a little more rigorous. But a lot of times when I'm out in Bodega Bay, we will walk the beach, but sometimes we're walking those hills or doing the stairs like I did with you guys. We have a weighted vest. We have some kettlebells. We got a couple things out there to where, you can get some training. And so, you know, if you are the person in the family that is into some of these things, encourage people. And maybe normally you run every morning, but maybe you don't do that for that day because you get everybody to walk. You know, you might have to make a little, or you can get up earlier and run if you're that obsessed with it. But these are things that I've done, and it's been amazing, you know, to go and walk with my nieces and nephews and my own kids, and they don't always go, but like they see it, they know that this is like part of a lifestyle. They understand there's a lot of junk food out there, and there's gonna have to be some way to try to figure out how do we balance that shit out. Like, we're in like a fight and a constant battle against those things. So let's promote fitness in some way. And sometimes with children, like, you know, getting them to like lift weights or something is just not in the cards, but getting them to, you know, walk or throw a football around or something is probably a little easier.
Can you guys explain, even like you just mentioned, like some days the workout's not going to necessarily be like a 10 out of 10, but I don't know, I guess I'll say like getting the gold star for the day, you actually worked out. Can you explain like the benefits of doing that and the consistency that comes along with it?
I think most of that is from a mental perspective. Somebody could make an argument that it's not great because you could be tired. Maybe you're underslept. Maybe you drank a bunch the night before or something like that, and the workout's just not. It's not ideal. And sometimes people will say, you know, go heavy or go home, which I do believe. I do prescribe that. I do think, I don't mean like heavy, but I do think you have to bring a certain intensity into the gym to get the results that you're looking for. Now, it doesn't mean that we're maxing out or anything, but if you're at like 40-50% for the day, the last place you should probably be is in the gym. However, from a mental perspective, I think it's great. And I think that for me personally, it doesn't make me feel nearly as good as having a great workout. But if I have a window to get in like some sort of 20-minute workout and it's just something quick, it's something simple, and the intensity isn't like optimal for the day, I'm not going to sweat it because I train all the time.
I think that is a really good concept. I think this is a great concept for the listeners to pick up, because even for me nowadays too, not every single workout that I have inside of the gym is like a crazy hard hour-long workout or 90-minute workout. A lot of times, if I know I'm not feeling it on a certain day, I'm going to go in and I may do something for between 15, 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes or something, but it'll be easy. You know, I'll just be getting my body moving in some way, getting myself sweating and just getting something in. I think if kind of what we alluded to earlier, the idea of just trying to get some movement each day, right? So getting in a walk, being on your feet more, you know, instead of sitting down. And if you really, really don't feel like working out, instead of doing a hard workout, if you have a pair of your dumbbells at home, do something for 10 minutes or do something sporadically through the day that elicits some type of movement. Because I think that's a very strong habit for people to have. Do something every day, even if it's not 100% or even if it's not a 10 out of 10. even if it's a 3 out of 10, you did something. And if you have the goal of just doing something and making your body move every day, I think that that can lead you to being able to, in a much easier fashion, get to your end goal as far as your body is concerned and then maintain it. Because for me these days, there's never a day that I go without doing something that I deem kind of physical. I know people would, maybe they look at me, they're like, oh, of course, well, you're an athlete, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of athletes have like off days where they don't do shit, right? So just building physicality into your lifestyle in the easiest way possible, I think, is a strong thing to learn how to do.
Do you have any days off?
See, when people ask me that, I technically, for some people, like for example, if someone that does jujitsu, I don't do jujitsu every single day. I mean, I do it maybe 4 or 5 sessions a week. So there's 2 days I don't have jujitsu, but on those days, maybe I do something in the gym. On those days, maybe I do something with my kettlebell at home if I don't get into the gym. But there's some sort of, I guess, athletic movement that I just move my body. Even if I can get like my pull-up bar on the door and maybe get some push-ups and squats and body weight squats, or I have a kettlebell, so I usually do like kettlebell squats. I get something in. Slant board's been super useful for that too. So that's the thing. It's like, no, I don't think I have any days off, but I do have days that I would think are really easy, but it still stamps me in on getting my movement in, or my exercise type movement. And at this point, getting walks in is just a normal thing. Like, I feel good when I walk, so that's why I walk out of habit. I don't walk because I feel like I need to burn calories. But even for you right now, if that movement is getting in multiple 10-minute walks, do that. And then maybe have it be something a little bit more, maybe get in some squats or push-ups or something. But I think that's a really strong habit that we can build easily without having to change your lifestyle in any crazy way.
I think there's things happening here and to us that we don't even like understand or know. Like these habits are, they mean a lot to us and they do a lot for us. I think somebody might think, oh, well, why don't you just not worry about it, just have a day off? It's not really that we're worried about it. I think you're similar to myself. Like, if you're traveling and your day's compromised and it doesn't seem like it's in the cards to get in much of anything, you know, I'm okay with it. I don't know about for yourself, but it doesn't usually bother me. What about yourself? Like, if you just like miss everything because you were driving and you were doing this and that.
No, like that doesn't bother me, but it's not even, for me at this point, it's not even because I feel that I have to. It's just a habit that
Right.
If I didn't get to the gym at all, then I'll just feel like I just want, like, I want to, like,
Yeah.
I want to move. I want to get it out of me. That's what I feel like. And maybe that's just a personality thing. But every single day, I feel like if I don't get some sort of exertion, I'm holding something in.
Yeah, it's like trapped inside of you, the way that we were talking with, when we've talked in the past with people that are heavy, that have been on the show, that have been successful in losing weight. They've had issues where they gain the weight back sometimes because that person is still sitting inside there saying, eat, eat, eat. With you, with your background, athletic background, soccer background, there's probably a person inside you saying, like, you should keep moving.
Go fucking move. Yeah.
And I feel the same, and I feel the same way, even though I wasn't moving around as much as a kid. I feel the same way. Like, if like for today, I got to bed at like 12:30. That's pretty late for me. And so I slept in. I did our first podcast that we did this morning, and then I drove here. I haven't done anything yet. So right away, I was taking a shower today. I was like, I'm going to go somewhere and go for a walk. Like, I'm probably going to walk for 30 minutes or an hour. And I already have that scheduled in my head. Like, do that, you know, before dinner, you know, and then go ahead and enjoy your dinner. But that's kind of like, it's now programmed into my system. But what makes it effective, this kind of idea of getting in something every day, is the reward system that's built into the system that we have as human beings. You're checking off a box. Like, you get to pat yourself on the back. So, you know, Andrew's question about, like, you know, just getting in a workout that's maybe like a 6 out of 10, man, you still get to pat yourself on the back for it. And you're not going to really beat yourself up too much over it. I think ultimately, you know, what I like to share with people is, you know, try to understand this principle of, how interested are you in really making these changes? How interested are you in getting better and the pursuit of getting better? Sometimes people get like so interested that they only do it for a short period of time, and they burn the candle from both ends. I think that we're aware of that, and so we're like, we don't want to like fizzle out, so we'll just get something in every day. It's not always going to be a long workout. It's not always going to be a treacherous thing. But I think when you get done with a particular workout for the day, and let's just say it was a shit workout, and let's say the next day the diet wasn't like on point. It was kind of a shitty diet day too, and you're just in a little bit of a slump. You can still be satisfied and excited about what you're doing because you're still doing some representation of it. And it will continue. You'll continue to work on it. You'll continue to get it better. And for me, I just say to myself, well, unfortunately at the moment, if I'm just totally being honest with myself, I'm not as interested in that as I thought. And I think people might have a problem with kind of hearing that, but that's been very true for me. It's like, how interested are you really in this? If you want to be better at it, then you would already be better because you would already be doing the things that you've been talking about in your own head. You'd already be following them. So don't really worry a ton about being a 9 or a 10 every single day. Just kind of continue to think, the more that I do this, the longer that I'm in the game, the more and more interested I'll get. I'll keep leaning towards better and better decisions over a period of time.
You know what I was thinking when you mentioned you need to make sure you're actually interested in that? Like, as much as as much as taking care of your health is important, some people truly aren't interested in that if they feel that they're okay, right? So if you feel content with what you're doing currently, even if you're not doing the best practices, even if there's a lot of things that from the outside looking in, people can see that you need to fix, some people truly aren't even interested in that yet. So the thing you start to wonder is like, I care about this person and they don't seem to be interested in that. How can I get them interested? Because again, you can't change anybody, and you can't think it's your responsibility to change somebody. But, I know in terms of the way I feel about my family members, when I see someone going down and they don't seem to care, I really want to find a way to help get them to care. And I can say this, I don't have the answers for how you can get somebody to care if they actually don't. I don't have the answers for that. But I really do usually try to figure out how the hell I can get them thinking in that direction.
There's people that will smoke a cigarette, through the hole in their neck, because they had to have a tracheotomy or whatever. There's people that will get a diagnosis of having diabetes, and not only will they not do anything about their diet, but they won't even take their medication.
Yeah.
Which the medication, it's like at least the medication can assist with maybe some habits that you're working on. So yeah, it's really the whole thing is very fascinating because you're like, yeah, how would I get someone to be more interested? But I think the only answer is to, are there opportunities for education? Like, are they asking you a question? Are they reaching out for help? And then also, because you do care about these people, you do love your family, pay attention, because they might be mentioning something somewhere where might be a little bit of like a cry for help that maybe you weren't paying attention to. And so I think there's always some opportunities to kind of educate people, but to try to figure out how to get somebody interested in stuff, I think you might have to try to just know the person the best that you can. And I love what our guest said on our podcast that we had earlier today. He said, maybe like firm up your relationship with that person a little bit better before you go, because that would mean a lot to that person. Like maybe you've shown like that you don't pay that much attention to that person. Maybe you kind of like have demonstrated many times that you don't really care. But now
that shit.
Yeah.
When he said that to me, I was like, I know. Oh shit, there's two people that I got.
Yeah.
I gotta get a strong relationship with them.
Yeah. No, absolutely, because I think it's like we get excited because it's something that we feel that we know.
Yeah.
And so selfishly, we're like, hey, this is what you should do. Right?
I don't sound like that.
Yeah. And now you're the you're the expert now, you know, because you want to like, you just are so pumped. You want to tell somebody what to do or how to fucking, you know, live their life or whatever. And we don't have any, I don't have any answers for any of that. But I have assisted people before with losing weight. So if there is an opportunity for me to communicate in some way with somebody, it's something I noticed this past weekend. One of my friends asked me about lifting, and I pointed him towards 531 because he's lifted a little bit. And he gave me one of the most reasonable things I've ever heard in my life. He's like, I would just like to gain, and this was reasonable for him because again, he hasn't been like, you know, lifting like hard for 20 years or anything like that. He's been lifting kind of the last 5 years, and doesn't really, he's not on a program that's like intensive or whatever, right? So he's like, I want to lose about 5 pounds of fat and gain about 5 pounds of muscle. And that right away told me exactly how much stuff this guy knows. It gave me insight into his intelligence level, even with the very topic of fitness. Because I'm like, okay, this dude he has been around it. He must understand it, because somebody else would be like, all I want to do is lose like 30 pounds, you know?
Yep.
He was like, I want to have a little bit of a shift in my body composition. And I was like, wow, that's fucking awesome. And I kind of started to break it down on what would assist him kind of through that process. But that might be a good place to communicate with somebody on, talking to them about reasonable goals of like, what are things they can, you know, again, if they ask a question or if you get in conversation and they seem interested, then maybe you can kind of interject and say, hey, you know what? I could see for you. I can honestly say that with the people I've worked with in the past, and if you worked on a couple of these things, I could see you, you know, losing 15 pounds in the next 2-3 months, you know, whatever the situation is. But I just thought that was super reasonable. And I was like, man, that guy gets it.
You know, one thing from what Gormy said today is, you think about how often, like when you were really young, how many big kids you'd see in a classroom. Okay. And then you think about it now, how many just like young kids are heavy and overweight compared to just 15, 20 years ago. It actually is wild, because even I thought about it. If you do listen to a lot of this podcast consistently, right, then you hear a lot of the things that we do talk about. And things are just getting worse and worse and worse as far as like obesity, young kids being overweight. And if you can think of somebody or a child in your family, it doesn't have to be, maybe it is your kid, but maybe it's your cousin's kid, or maybe it's whatever. It's tough to say that it is your responsibility to talk to your family, especially, again, everyone has different relationships. But I would kind of almost want to challenge you to try and see if there's a way you could do that. Because there's this idea that's in my head, like, you know, if you can deal with your family, right, and you can somehow relate to them some information, whether it's relaying a podcast episode or, you know, being there as a resource of some kind, the information that you give them is then going to have a ripple effect within that family. They know more, they're maybe paying more attention, and then maybe that goes to more people and goes to more people, just because you worked on dealing with your nuclear and your, you know, a little bit your cousins or whatever. You did do that. So it has a ripple. And I think that can be some way that not only are you helping yourself in terms of your health and fitness, but then you're helping way more people than you'd expect.
I think these tough conversations can be had. They're certainly not easy, but I mean, if I guess maybe like I'm already in fitness and nutrition. So if someone mentioned something to me about my own kids, I believe I'd be open to it, but again, because I'm already, I already understand the value. Maybe sometimes people don't understand the value.
Yeah.
Because someone could, I think a lot of times parents, what they know is what they've done and what they've been presented with. I was talking with a guy this weekend, and he was so pumped about his daughter playing soccer, and she's part of this travel squad. And he kind of talked about how like they're kind of in pretty deep. He's like, I try my best to like chill, but he's like, I'm super excited that she's doing well. I'm sorry, it was softball, and he was just saying like how pumped he is and how excited he is and everything. And then he mentioned like he has, I think he has 2 children. He's like, my kids, he's like, they have to play sports. He's like, that's just the way it is. He's like, they have to play sports. He's like, I see tremendous value in sports. And I agree with the statement. Like there can be tremendous value in sports.
Yeah.
Maybe to say that they have to play a sport is like maybe a little bit of maybe a little too much, but I think trying to figure out a way for your kids to be active is very smart. You know, trying to figure out a way to, because the food thing, it's like no one really wants to fuck with the food. But my whole point here is that the reason why that father said that is probably because when he was a kid, his parents said, pick a sport. You know, okay, you can play the piano and you can, you know, play the cello or whatever the fuck you want, but like you're going to still play a sport on top of that. And so he saw value in that, and he understood that. I think when we start to talk about nutrition, a parent might be like, well, what my kids don't need any, why would they need anything different than what I had? You know, I ate fucking French fries, I ate Oreos, I ate all that shit when I was a kid. I'm fine. You know, they're sitting there drinking a beer and they could lose 30 pounds, you know, but I think it's what they know. It's what they're comfortable with, I think.
You know, I was thinking about something when you said that. You know, he said the guy was like, oh, my kids have to play a sport. That's cool. And then I was thinking about my mom, right? Part of the reason why she put me in sports was because she was a single mother and she needed some place to like get her kid to fucking be, because I'd be an annoying ass if I didn't have that, right? But you know, I was able to be around teams. I was able to have great coaches that had, you know, positive effects on my life. But the thing is, the big reason why I feel like I have to move each day, that I feel that I need some level of exertion, it's not only because of sport, but it's also because I feel like I need that at this point. And I know that when I don't get it, I don't feel like I generally just don't feel I don't have as much vitality. Let me put it that way. So right, if I feel also very connected to my body, and I can, because I've been doing this for so long, just whether it be sports with soccer or lifting, like I can tell when my body just needs, I just feel like I need that, right? So I think that this could be a good thing to try to not just develop for yourself in the aspect of just getting some sort of movement in each day. It doesn't need to be a crazy workout, but maybe developing for your kids. Help them to have a closer relationship to their body and the way their body feels. Like if you do have a kid that does sports, they're going to be used to playing sports. And then when they become an adult, I hear this all the time from people I work with that maybe they got overweight. They're always like, I used to play sports as a kid. I love that feeling. Or I used to play sports in college and I want to get back to that. When you know what that feels like, to exert your body and feel that level of exhaustion and then feel good after doing that and feel a level of fulfillment, when you lose that, you try to figure out every fucking way to get it back, because you realize that nothing really has you as connected to your body as that, right? And I wish I could say, oh yeah, I developed this for myself, but it's because my mom put me on that shit as a kid. That's why I have this right now. And that's why it's so hard for me to get into really out of shape, because that was ingrained into me as a child.
Yeah, and it's really hard if people don't experience that and they like, no, I feel fine without working out. Like, then you want me to go exert myself? Like, that sounds terrible. But it is a weird feeling. And fortunately / unfortunately, I got it kind of thrown at my face when it happened, when I made the realization. I don't know what happened. I went through a spurt where I wasn't working out for like maybe like just like a month. And then I came home after a solid workout, and my wife Stephanie was like, wow, like this is the first time I've seen you smile in a long time. And I was like, oh shit. Like that, like, yeah, that hurt, but also it was just like a huge slap in the face of like, dude, yeah, like you're a better person when you work out. And you know, that was, like I said, the first time where I was like, damn, this really is that important to me. And
wow.
It's just weird because before that, I probably would have said that, yeah, I do feel better, but like I could get away with it. But then, after experiencing that, I was like, damn, like it's a lot bigger than, trying to get bigger biceps or whatever. It's way more important than that.
I would say, like, when it comes to sports, kids might not necessarily need sports. However, kids do need to be exposed to a lot of different things. And so one thing to expose them to would be to challenge your mind. One thing would be to challenge your artistic ability, your creativity. And another thing would be to challenge your athletic prowess, challenge how fast you can run, how high you can jump. And we don't really have physical education the way that we used to. And so I kind of agree with the statement. Like it's definitely a worthy cause to look into having your child participate in something. And maybe it turns out like my son, he didn't really care much about sports, so he didn't play them. He played baseball for about 3 years. I don't think he tried any other sports, but he was on, maybe even 4 years. He played for a while. He told me one day, he's like, I don't really like it. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, I don't like it. And I was like, what else do you think you want to? Or he swam too. He started out with swimming, and then he went to baseball. And he's like, I don't really think sports are for me. He's like, I don't really like them. And I was like, how is this possible? No, I was like, okay. I was like, you know what? I was like, just kind of thinking in my head, like, physical fitness is important and these things. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to give him like a fucking speech about it. I'm going to let him find his own way. I was like, all right, cool. So he played and finished out the year and played. My daughter still plays volleyball. I think one of the huge things that sports teaches you, along with a lot of other things. My favorite thing that sports ever taught me was that I'm not the best. It taught me like, you ain't shit, dude. Yeah. Like you actually fucking suck in a way. Like I actually like that because I remember like, playing football, I did pretty well. But like where I came from, like our school was not like this like major powerhouse football team. Once we got to like a sectional championship or towards the state championship, that's when you started to look around and go, oh, okay. Like I'm cool at my school and I'm really good in the league. And in the section, I'm still pretty damn good, but in the state, I ain't shit.
These kids are built different.
Yeah. And then now let's open it up to like the East Coast. It's like now you're fucking getting buried, right? Let's open it up to the whole country. And it's like, it's overwhelming at how advanced and how, but it makes sense. Like it's not anything to like cry about or get sad about. It makes sense. There's a lot of people out there gunning for the same spot. We all have different genetics and different upbringings and different environments. And, someone could still figure out a way to make it, I think, if you are really that, interested enough in it. But that was important for me. Especially as somebody that didn't think they were smart. Now it's like, oh shit, now that's kind of taken away from me too. Like now what do I do with myself? But it challenges you and pushes you in new directions that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise gone into. I would not have done a lot of the things that I did if football came really easy. I'd probably end up at some school and I probably would have tried to pursue that, and who the fuck knows what I would have got into, or I found my way the way I needed to.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. And I think, we're kind of getting a little off topic, but I think sports just teaches your kids, teaches us how to lose. We talk about like how participation trophies are kind of bullshit. Back in my day, I think we did have somewhat of a participation trophy. I remember it was what was it, like the sportsmanship award or whatever,
most improved
for like the shittiest team, and that was the one thing they got fired up for. But no, it's I see it in my daughter. Like when she was a lot younger, like we'd be playing video games or something, and she would lose. She'd get really upset. I'm like, whoa, like no, we got to teach you how to lose a little bit, So I think that's what sports can do. But like I said, that's a little bit of a different topic because we were talking about trying to teach our family about nutrition and stuff like that.
Yeah, or it could turn you into a toxic winner. Like, yeah, for me, like,
it can, yeah.
Yo, but like if I ever like, because there's a time that I think me and my ex were trying to learn chess, right? and like I beat her, right? And then there was one day she beat me. I was like, oh, you don't know what you've just unlocked.
Yeah.
Downloaded chess.com. My phone played like a few hundred games.
Made it not fun anymore.
I wrecked this woman. Like I destroyed. It's not good. Like when I get beat at something, it's not good because I have the mission of destroying you.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
yeah, that's why
it
you're
is
so
what
good
it
at
is.
jujitsu. You know, it's
But no, you're right about that. Like it does teach you how to lose. And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different, like you don't have to put your kid in sports, right? I think but there is some benefit, especially because like you're seeing now, like you mentioned, Mark, there's a lesser importance on physical education, just helping them figure out a way to connect to their body. It doesn't need to be in sport, but just something to have awareness
Mhm.
of like what your body can do.
Right.
Even if you're, and because, yeah, I think about like some people aren't the most athletic or whatever, right?
Mhm.
But there's still ways for them to feel connected to what their body can do. I think a good example could be things like climbing. Like, you know, those rock climbing
Oh
spots,
shit, yeah.
right? That's something that like, it's a level of strength training, it's a level of body control, but you see some people, they just come to the room and they just fucking, they look like they've never lifted a day in their life, and then they're Spider-Manning up the wall,
Yeah.
and they feel free and connected to their body because of what it's allowing them to do. Just something like that.
That's a great thing to do because much like trail running or just walking trails or any of that kind of stuff, keeping your body weight in check is like it's really important.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you weigh 275 and you're trying to climb, it's just going to be that much harder. Not that you can't do it, but it's going to be more difficult. So, you know, finding some things to do that kind of keep your body weight in check is definitely a wise thing to do. My son is still, you know, he still exercises. You know, he'll lift a little bit here and there. It's like pretty sporadic.
Mm-hmm.
He'll run here and there, but you know, leading by example, I think is critical. Like him and Quinn know that I work out most days. They know that my wife is swimming every morning. Like it's a huge part of our lives, and we really don't go a day without it. So the kids might come and go on stuff. They might get fired up about some form of exercise for a while or get excited about a sport. But I'm pretty confident that it will be part of their lives. I just think that they understand like what it can do for them, and I believe that they'll gravitate towards it.
Yeah.
cool. So, I mean, in regards to like helping out family members and whatnot, I think the easiest first, step one is just to not drink calories. It seems pretty straightforward. And I mean, when we're talking about like enjoying our diets, like, dude, I'll give somebody Coke Zero, and it's like, fuck, like this is awesome. It's like, yeah, you can have that and not really even think about it.
Your kids shouldn't be drinking it either, unless it's from like milk.
Yeah, exactly. But what would be like? I guess we'll say like another thing that we can help people when it comes to having this conversation with family members.
Here's something that I noticed, and my family does this. It's different as kids and the family get older. And when I say older, like once they're like over 14, 15 years, I don't know. It matters less, and let them start to make their own decisions. But hopefully at some point you communicated with them the importance of nutrition and what that looks like.
Yeah.
If you did do that already at that point, I think you kind of let them start to make their own decisions and own choices. For younger children, you make the decisions for them. Grilled cheese or mac and cheese and French fries it's not a meal. You just need to get past it. It's not French fries and grilled cheese is together in combination. It's not a meal, and it's a very unhealthy practice, and there's really no reason to do it. So what I would suggest instead is maybe do something slightly different. Like maybe you just order just grilled cheese and you say no fries. Maybe instead of every kid getting a little bit of grilled cheese and a giant thing of fries, maybe you order grilled cheese for all the kids, and maybe there's still French fries, but maybe they just get less. I think we just have to figure out, like, how do we, not everything has to be a crazy compromise. We could still eat some of these fucking things. But do we need to eat that at lunch and then eat pizza for dinner? Like, it's just getting to be a lot, right? And then have an ice cream, after that. It's just, it really, really accumulates. So I think in general with a real simple thing for people to engage in is like, let's figure out some way to exercise every day. The same goes for the kids. It's not like exercise is bad for kids. And work towards drinking less calories and maybe even eliminating liquid calories. And then I think the other place to kind of go from there is to try to get some protein in for people. Some sort of meal somewhere in the day that has, I think back to my childhood and the things that we ate for meals, and they were always relatively healthy. They, calorie wise, they're probably pretty dense, but they usually had protein. We were eating like meatballs or chicken parmesan or these different things. And yeah, like again, the fat content might have been high, the carbohydrates might have been high, the calories might have even been high. But it was a nutrient dense meal that filled me up pretty good. And when I think about the mistakes that I had as a kid, it wasn't really in the meals because we ate it wasn't like we ate really good, but my mom usually cooked some sort of protein something or other. We had a carbohydrate like a starch and a vegetable, and that would be the meal. But it's a lot of the snacks, a lot of the extra stuff. And so kids love fruit. Kids usually like yogurt. Encourage them to eat things that have, protein in them rather than just being like these little sugary bombs they might be getting throughout the day.
You know what? I will say this because I remember, I'm like, oh, wow, I remember she did do that. So, of course, as parents, you need to lead by example. So you should be trying to get yourself some exercise. You should be trying to eat well, right? But hey, if you really like Kit Kats and you're addicted to it, don't let your kid have it. Like, because what my mom, because I remember this because what mom used to do, she loves Kit Kats. Kit Kats are her favorite chocolate. And she'd buy it and she'd hide it, and I'd never have access to it. I'm like, hey, mom, let me get a Kit Kat. She's like, nope. It's like, those are my Kit Kats, right? But she never let me have any of that type of stuff. And I know that we talk about being and leading by example, right? But if you're not at that stage yet where you can get rid of your Kit Kats, just don't let your kid have it. Because she never let me have any of those damn Kit Kats. And I remember that to this day. I'd be like, can I just have the Kit Kat? And she'd be like, nope. Because she knew it wasn't good for me. And she knew it wasn't good for her. But she really didn't let me have it, right?
I actually think that that's a fairly important message too. Like, my kids asked me, about like cursing and stuff before. And I was like, cursing's not for kids. Like and yes, I should refrain from using it around you as well. Like I guilty, I can cut back. And so I think that, same with alcohol, right? Like you don't want the kid to sit there, like,
That's exactly what I was going to bring up. Yeah.
Drinking some vodka. There's things that are more appropriate and less appropriate for kids at certain times. However, I would also say this, that your kids, people ask all the time, what should my kids eat? They should eat the same things that you're eating. They should primarily be eating protein. They don't need to be on like some strict, crazy diet. They can afford to eat more sugar than us. They can afford to eat a little bit more carbohydrate. They bounce around all day, usually when you're 6, 7, 8 years old. But once you're 10 and you're not in a sport, you're not moving around nearly as much. And as soon as the kid starts to gain weight, that's when that roller coaster starts to hit. So I'd kind of just say that, having other family members eating similar to you is a great, that way you're not isolating anybody. No one's on, the one fat kid in the family's not on some particular thing where he's sitting there eating fucking green beans and chicken breast. Everybody's engaged in it. Everyone's doing it. And when you work on that, it can become fun. It can become like a hobby. It can become something that everyone participates in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What else we got?
Well, we keep mentioning the Gourmet Goes Keto episode that was recorded earlier today, but it'll come out after this episode. And when that is, I'm not sure, because today's Tuesday, Wednesday, so maybe Thursday that episode will come out.
It'll be out Thursday.
Yeah. So something to keep in mind. But yeah. And then just again, I'll bring it back up, but like, we just had my daughter's birthday party and we didn't have any cake, we didn't have any candy. We did have soda, but all of it was the zero sugar variety of root beer, of Coke, and of course Sunkist, because I think that's the best one. Nobody cared. We just had food and fruit, and that was it. Nobody had a heart attack. Nobody felt like they had to call the cops because there wasn't cake at a birthday party. There wasn't candy or no piñatas, no nothing, and it was fine. Like nobody freaked out, and I don't know. It just seemed like everybody went home happy.
Yeah. One thing that actually I'm going to mention it later because I think it's really important, but it made me think of like no, I'm just going to mention it now. One thing that was mentioned from that podcast was when he said that, he would have a list of things, like 5 specific things to be done when he felt like that surge of hunger after eating.
Oh, yeah.
There was a thing like, I couldn't go take a walk, or I can
read a book.
Like there was legit a list of like, it was like having a move set in a video game. Let's say you're playing a fighting game and you have a combo, right? So you get hungry and you have this 3-piece combo that you're about to hit up to fight that hunger. Like, I think that's something that if you want to share things with family members, if you want to give them tools, like maybe give them tools to fight that off when that happens, because that happens to us all the time. Like when I have I think actually just right now, like I really wanted to eat something earlier, but I knew that, shoot, let me just get a protein shake. Like that's one of my, that's my 2-piece combo right there. Hit it with a scoop and a half and I'm good. Right. So if you can give people some tools, that'll just make that easier, because I think we all deal with that. That can help a lot of people out too.
Let me just give you a scenario so people can play along at home here. Let's say that I want to lose, 20 pounds, and I typically eat decent, like during the week, but every weekend I fall off. I like to kick it with my friends, and I go way off path. Let's say my favorite thing is pizza. I have an issue with pizza. I normally do pretty good during the week, but occasionally I'll fuck up even during the week, and I'll, late at night sabotage myself or something like that. What would your advice be to a family member that came to you that said, hey, I've been trying this diet and I kind of halfway do it, and then I kind of fall off on the weekend, and occasionally even during the week, this is kind of stress of the week builds up and I find myself going off plan.
I think a cool thing in that specific situation, if we're talking about pizza, I think a lot of us know other options that could deal with that other than the specific pizza. So an example would be, I was thinking to Andrew when I thought about this, Quest pizzas. Just because they're really good, they don't have a crazy amount of calories, they will fill you up. And when I've had those, they can actually hit that spot for you. Right. So for a lot of people, instead of complicating things, and instead of like saying, okay, let's just, on that day, let's fast, and then let's try to make some protein, etc. Even though that'd be a good idea, maybe they could have a protein shake, and then maybe they could eat 2 Quest pizzas. And the reason why I say 2 is because 2 Quest pizzas, as far as the calories are concerned, the 2 Quest pepperoni pizzas are far less calories than a typical pizza that you'd get. And they're also very satiating because they're protein rich. Right? So it's not, 2 Quest pizzas is not going to do nearly as much damage as a typical pizza. And your family member that isn't much into health is going to be like, oh, it's a pizza. Well, let me go try that. It can actually be something that's legitimate. Right?
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah. And then, there's going to be the people that like, no, bro, that's frozen pizza. That's bullshit. It's not real pizza.
That's true, you're right.
So what my counter to that is either to have the Quest pizza or make your own pizza. Like I make my own all the time. And I don't wait till the weekend though. Like if I want pizza, I'll have it whatever day throughout the week I want. I could have it every day. But then what happens on the weekend when that day comes, it's like I'm not actually as hyped as I was before, because before you're waiting like since Sunday night, you're like, shit, Saturday night, I cannot wait to go have that pizza. It's like, well, here we are on Monday. It's like, okay, I'm going to have it right now actually. And it does satisfy. And then Tuesday, it's like, fuck, I think I want it again. Okay, go ahead and have it again, because the calories are still very low.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have it. Therefore, you no longer feel like you're holding back anything. You don't feel like you're on a diet anymore.
Yeah.
So when that Saturday comes, you still can enjoy it if you want, but chances are you're not going to be as like, dude, okay, I know we say we're going to get 2 extra large pizzas, but I really want some fucking pizza. Let's get 3. And you guys, you get one, I get one. We'll get different, you get real fired up for it, right?
Yeah.
When you do it this way, you don't get as pumped for it anymore. And it's almost kind of like it's almost sad, because you're like, no, but I want that pizza. It's like, but you will not want it as much.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I've been approaching it. And like, when I'm on a quote diet, I don't feel like I'm on a diet, because I still eat all the foods that I want.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a lower calorie version of that food.
Even with some of that, I would still suggest what we always suggest, and that's to fill up on something even healthier.
Yeah.
Get maybe not get real full off of it, but eat 8 ounces of steak or something like that before.
Totally.
Or like Nsima was mentioning, have a protein shake. And let's not undersell the value of lifting weights. Like Nsima talked about how you can mitigate this situation where somebody really loves pizza, and his answer was to not try to not eat pizza, because we know how difficult that can be. Figure out a way to still be able to hit that craving. But if you're lifting, that's a way to mitigate all calories all the time, because you're gaining muscle mass. So we can't forget the value of that. So if a family member isn't lifting, you need to go tell them to go fuck themselves. You need to just, explain to them the value of how important it is to be lifting some weights, because it can change your metabolism forever.
It's like, I want to lose weight. Are you lifting? No, go fuck yourself.
Yep.
That's a quick, smooth conversation.
Man.
Swiftly abrupt.
Yo, but I've mentioned my mom so many times in this podcast, but that was the greatest gift that she's ever given me, to be perfectly honest. Just take me to the gym that one day and just like tell me, go figure it out, because she didn't like tell me how to do it. I think the first thing I had was dumbbells, and then I got tired of what I was doing with dumbbells in my grandma's bedroom. So then she's like, okay, now you can go to a gym. And that was like the best thing that ever happened to me. Just like getting into a gym and starting to lift some damn weights, So yeah, super important.
That's dope.
It's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, but being really connected to your kid, really, like just imagining your mother, she probably you probably didn't have a whole lot of privacy. She probably just come in your room and like flip shit upside down and kind of look around and be like, why is this a mess? Or what is this? Like, where'd you get this from? Or like, if you had something that like wasn't yours, she'd be like, where'd you get this from? Probably, right? Like, she fucking knew everything about you, right? Like, you had a new baseball glove, and she knows like you're not making money or whatever, have a job. She's like, where the fuck did this come from? Yeah. It's, as a parent, sometimes those things, they seem like, you're wedged up your kid's butt all day long, but sometimes it's important. You want to know where they're at. And it seems like your mom did a good job kind of like steering you, but before you maybe needed much steering. She just did it kind of for you. She's like, you're heading in this direction. Yeah. Now you're heading in that direction. Now you're heading in this direction.
I think that's an interesting thing, yeah, absolutely. And when I hear parents like, I'm not a parent, so I can't like, talk, I don't know. But when I hear parents that they're like, I want my kid to have a bunch of freedom. I get it, right? Your kid should have freedom to choose what they want to choose. But like, there are times where I think like sometimes you need to just tell the kid to just do it and stick to it for a little bit. Like, because if I told my mom I don't want to do it, whoo, boy, you don't want to do it.
Or if you didn't want to eat something that she cooked, right?
That doesn't happen.
Right.
That didn't happen because I knew that I would eat it. Right? I never felt like she was a dictator or anything, but she definitely knew where the ship was being steered, because she was the adult and I was the fucking kid, right? And like, yeah, like I think.
What if you got upset? What if you got real upset? What if you cried?
If I cried?
Did she just tell you to go to your room or something? Or she probably didn't really put up with much of that either, right?
Give you a reason to cry.
Well, okay, let me put it this way. As a kid, I don't know, maybe it was because of the way I was raised, but the only times I would cry was if I was being spanked.
Right.
Like it was like, or if there was like an emotional family thing, but that in itself is there's a
What
reason
about
to cry there.
whiny, pouty,
Mhm.
slumpy? She just like allow any of that, or she didn't?
Yeah,
have-
no, she did. Like if ever like I was really sad about something, we'd have a talk. Like if I lost a game or if I did really bad and like whatever. Like,
I meant like if you
but-
were upset with like a situation that she kind of forced you into, like you got to go rake the leaves and you wanted to go play with your buddy,
Yeah, if
and
she-
you're like, oh, I don't want to. You know, kids do this. They, I don't want to. I can't believe you make me do this. Were you able to do any of that?
That's the thing. Like this is the funny thing about African households, because all my African friends would be like, I get it, but yeah, I wouldn't want to do it, but I just would go do it. I wouldn't show like, oh, I don't want to do it. I'd be like, you know, I wouldn't even say I don't want to do that. I'd just be like, I got it. Like, because like
The consequences.
the consequences, but you also have an understanding like, hey, like you're the kid. Go like this is your parents. Go do what you're supposed to do. That's like African kids can relate. And this is the funny thing, and there's no shade on American parents, no shade. But sometimes I just see some of these kids talking back, and I'm just like,
oh my gosh,
oh, yeah.
yeah, no,
like
absolutely.
you can say that to your mother, like you can say that to they let you. All they did was tell you to go to your room. Oh, wow. Like,
They didn't knock your ass out.
Yeah.
like whoa.
Meanwhile,
know?
the room is fully decked out with video games, and it's fucking awesome.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
why I'm just like, you know what? I know that there is a cultural difference there, because kids that were like in Nigeria, it was very normal in the classrooms. Teachers had canes to beat kids in the front of the class. You did something bad in an African classroom in Nigeria,
Whack.
teacher would bring you to the front of the class and whip your ass in front of the classmates, right? So like community whippings are a thing. Like my uncle or my aunt could give me a little whipping, and it's okay. Because it's a family affair, right? I know people be hearing this and they're like, abuse. Let me tell you, it wasn't abuse.
Well,
it was
if
just discipline.
If you look at stuff from like the military, and I know things have changed there as well, but like when people come out of the military, when all of anyone comes out of the military, they're not as fat as they were when they went in.
Yeah.
Because they have to get like militant. They need structure. Human beings respond great to structure. They respond great to just knowing how they should behave. Otherwise you're just kind of left on your own to kind of figure it out for yourself. With my kids, I've been pretty fortunate. They're usually not like disrespectful. I parent totally different than my wife, so we have good cop, bad cop.
And usually good cop.
I'm always good cop. I knock on their door and shit like that, like, and give them a minute, and then I go in. But like my wife will just go shooting right in. She's like, it's our house, like fuck them,
That's great.
And I try to explain. I'm like, they get older, She's like, no. She's like,
None of that.
Yeah, no, they don't. And I was like, all right, well. She's like, I don't tell you how to parent. I'm like, that's true. Good point. All right.
Oh man.
Hey, you do you, I'll do me. There we go. I think that, they sometimes need a little bit of both, but having some structure and then also like taking control of their food, I think is really important. And if you haven't done that before, that's where it gets to be harder. But that's where you'll have to do some of the stuff we talked about earlier, where you'll have to lead by example and kind of show them the way and show them the light.
Yeah, and then Nsima, I think once you do start like not hanging out, but you just start being around more parents, you'll see it's not necessarily a like a Nigeria versus U.S. thing. It's because like although this doesn't help the argument, but like my mom would tell me about like school in Mexico, how like if they get in trouble, they have to put their hand down on the desk and then just whack right across the hand.
Yeah, Catholic school.
Yeah, well, that's what it was. But like me and my wife, like with our daughter, like we're super lenient. Like she can get away with anything, but she's just a good kid, so that's part of it. But yeah, we'd go to her school and be like, oh hell no, or like we're just around somewhere and like kids are just badass little kids, and the parents are just like, oh, they're just expressing themselves.
Yeah, kids have different temperaments.
You need to beat the shit out of them. It's like that kid needs some discipline right now.
I agree with that. Like all kids have different temperaments. There's not just like one slate that comes out and they are just like that. Like I was a kid who, if I had the opportunity, I'd get into some shit if I absolutely could. I would make the choice to be a wild boy, you know, right? So I was like, my sister didn't need any of that, right? Like we were kind of different in that sense. She'd be straight line. She didn't need as much discipline as me. Me, I did. Like I did, you know. So that's just how it is. But you got to figure that out for your own kid.
Want to take us on out of here, Andrew?
Sure will. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode, especially everybody on the live feed. And although I'm going to probably regret this, but ex-vegan Logan, he's always in the live chat saying all kinds of crazy shit. Appreciate you, dude. Even though some of the stuff you say is so outlandish, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We still appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Shout out to Piedmontese for sponsoring today's episode. Sorry, it's Element. My bad. Piedmontese was earlier today. So drinklmnt.com/power project. Pick up a value bundle. No code needed. Just go ahead and load that up. Check out watermelon salt, grapefruit salt, citrus salt, and orange salt. Those are the top 4 in my opinion. Nsima can correct me if I'm wrong there. But make sure you follow the podcast at Mark Bell's Power Project on Instagram, at MB Power Project on TikTok and Twitter. My Instagram and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z, at the Andrew Z on TikTok. And Nsima, where you at?
Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, and Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark.
I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.
Love you, Mom.